Good evening on this Friday, April 19th, 2013. It is 9:25 p.m. and here I am watching the news. They have captured the individuals responsible for the attacks that took place during the Boston Marathons on Monday afternoon at around 2:50 p.m. As we all know, two bombs exploded during the Boston Marathon at the end of the race at around 2:50 p.m. Three people were killed that afternoon and over 160 people were gravely injured as a result of that explosion. Now, for 3 days, the suspects were at large. Finally, today, on Friday, 4 days after the initial events, they finally have captured the suspects. The first suspect, the older brother, Tamerlan Tsarnaev, was killed. Well, wasn't killed, but had died due to several gunshot wounds that he had suffered during the shootings that occurred at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And then just now, literally minutes ago, just over less than an hour ago, the younger brother, the 19-year-old Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, his younger brother, was captured but is in critical condition. They're saying that he had suffered massive bleeding and he is extremely very critical right now, and he's being taken to Massachusetts General Hospital. Hopefully they'll find more information. The good news is that they captured him alive, so we can now all get an understanding as to literally why this individual and his older brother would do such a heinous act of terror, especially for the first time in over 11 years since 9/11. This is the first act of terrorism in this country since then. So that's very significant developments happening over here, and we're going to find out hopefully if he survives. They're saying that he is in critical condition. If he survives, we'll find out the reasoning to these attacks and why he decided to do this. Lots of developments have been happening all day long. They're saying that the older brother traveled to a different country. He traveled to Russia, and supposedly he might have became radicalized, and he came back into this country to plan this very sophisticated attack, we must say, because attacks like this, I mean, especially during large sporting events like the Boston Marathon, it is heavily guarded. So he had received adequate training, they're saying, to commit this deadly act of terrorism. It is deadly because three people have died, and the fourth person now has been killed just last night. So finally, everyone can breathe a sigh of relief for this weekend. We spent the entire week at a heightened security alert. Pretty much the entire northeastern corridor was under heavy security. Finally, we can somewhat breathe a sigh of relief. Of course, the investigation continues, but the biggest victory of it all is that the suspects are now under custody. At least the younger suspect is. The older suspect has been killed as a result of the shooting. So this is literally history in the making. For the first time in recorded history, the city of Boston was literally shut down for the entire day. Twice, the first being Monday with being Patriot Day a holiday, and now today, Friday, with the city literally shut down as a result of this massive manhunt that took place literally for the last 22 hours. So that was very significant. Of course, this all began on Monday with the two bombings that occurred on Boylston Street near Copley Square, and then ending in Watertown at a young home where the suspect was inside of a boat hiding there reportedly for the last 20 or so hours. When the police have arrived on the scene, they're saying that he fired literally over 20 bullets, and it was an automatic weapon, they're saying, that he had in his hand, and he was blind firing at various police officers. Of course, the police officers were nowhere near the scene. They were smart; they did not rush into the scene, and therefore no gunfire was exchanged between the police officers and the suspect. They're saying that the suspect had fired his weapon at the police officers. The police officers were pretty smart. The bomb squad in Boston had sent out a robot into the boat and peeked in with a camera and then that's how they were able to quickly rule out any sort of suicide vest that would indicate that he could probably blow himself up and perhaps create even more damage or even deaths as a result of this. Good thing that they did not find any suicide vests on him, so that's good news. So that's how they were able to literally just take their time in this investigation and bring the suspect who was at large for the last 22 hours, to custody. So they're saying that that the suspect is in extremely grave and critical condition with respect. I mean, he was shot several times, and he is now en route to the hospital. So now we can all breathe a sigh of relief. That is excellent news that we're receiving tonight. But of course, with all of this excellent news that we are receiving, we have to, of course, remember the 4 that were killed and the families of the hundreds of those who are gravely injured, some of which their lives are pretty much changed forever as a result of this, because we have learned that there were several, in fact over 50 people with amputated limbs as a result of this deadly blast. And it's just so sad that this event that took place on Monday literally changed the lives of these people forever. And of course, we can't take away the fact that the 4 people that were killed as a result of this deadly explosion and resulting gunfire that took the life of an officer who was at the scene of a deadly shootout that occurred last night at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Now the investigation continues in several ways. They have to first figure out the psychology of these individuals, why they decided to do that. I mean, that's a question that a lot of people have when we have criminals that do these dangerous acts of terrorism, including the 2 shootings that occurred in Newtown, the one that occurred in Aurora City in Colorado. You know, these questions always come to play. Why these individuals suddenly, who seem so normal in their lives, they have such a huge life ahead of them, to suddenly switch and turn into this literally a different person and commit these completely unbelievable acts of terrorism. We just want to know why these individuals do that, and it is something that I'm personally want to know too. Why do people do these kind of things? You know, they seem normal. They have their entire lives ahead of them. The younger student was apparently a scholar. You know, he went to to a very selective private school. You know, from a different country, very selective school. He was very bright. Both, you know, very athletic individuals. We wonder why these individuals would commit such an act. And one of them are claiming that the older brother may have sort of radicalized his younger brother. The older brother apparently spent 6 months in Russia, or at least in the surrounding areas of where he went to, and somehow within those 6 months they're saying that he may have been radicalized by the Muslims, or the fundamentalists, I should say. We don't want to point fingers at religion here, because that's not what I want to do. They're saying that wherever he went to in Russia, he may have been radicalized, and then he committed these acts of terror in response to that radicalization here in this country, of course, on Monday. So this is very lots of developments to come, lots of significant issues happening here. You know, lots of questions that still need to be answered. But the good news is that the suspects have been captured. So that is excellent, excellent news. And of course, there's more information to come. I mean, the entire country right now is literally, you know, watching this unfold. I mean, there's a special briefing right now that the commissioner of Boston is doing. That's what I'm seeing right here in ABC News. Deval Patrick apparently is talking about the recent developments on the capturing of the suspect. And so now the next phase begins. In fact, the suspect has not been read his Miranda rights, which is very interesting in a court of law, because what this means is anything that he says could be dismissed in the court of law unless there are some exceptions to this rule. This is the first time in quite some time that they actually caught the suspect in literally a 5-day window. So this is the first exception. This is literally history in the making right now, because this is the first time a terrorist has been caught so quickly after committing the act of terror itself. So that is very significant developments happening right now. And there's much more to come. We have a lot to learn about this. You know, this is all a learning experience for everybody. You know, the entire country will now know how to react should this happen again, which we certainly hope does not happen again. That's pretty much it for this video. I'm Vladimir Flores. I just want to do a quick update to let you guys know as to what had happened and what is happening in case you're not watching TV. I mean, some people do not own a television, so it's good to talk to each other through social media like YouTube to kind of share information that we know with the rest of the world. So that's pretty much it. The suspects have been captured. Now we can move on. And of course, we have to continue to respect the lives of the 4 people that were taken as a result of this tragedy. It is pretty much a tragedy in all respects. It is so sad that this had happened, but our thoughts and prayers definitely have to go out to those victims. And of course, we can now learn more from this, and we can finally, being that this suspect is alive, we can finally understand the psychological aspects that go on through their minds that suddenly cause them to literally turn into to almost a monster. I mean, from someone who was completely normal to a complete monster. We can finally understand why. Hopefully we can understand why this happens. That's pretty much it for this video. Thank you for watching. More updates to come as I see fit. Have a great weekend, everyone, and try to stay safe out there and try to be happy. Have a good one.